back to Directly Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me as always is my dance partner and co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Ryan, we're talking about the Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher story today. Can't wait for it. We're talking Postcards from the Edge, one of the most bafflingly titled films ever. Probably costed a few $1 million at the box office, but it was the name of the book. So I guess you don't have any choice. But this is going to be a good one. I would say, where does this rank on the kind of Nichols cultural hierarchy? It's kind of like right in the middle, right?
I think it's kind of a
upper middle.
Upper middle, yeah. Fairly well known within, like Hollywood and of the time, and being about two icons, right? Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. That kind of makes it a little bit more elevated. Makes it very more personal, right? And yeah, I mean, Postcards from the Edge makes it sound like it's an action thriller starring Sylvester Stallone.
But it's something. Not. I don't know what it makes it sound like, but it's not.
What do you think when you hear Postcards from the Edge? What do you think?
I mean, my first thought is, like some sort of travelogue action movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like who's the duo at this time? Who would have been the duo?
So I'm thinking if it's Postcards, I'm thinking sort of a central romance going on. So if I'm looking at this is going to be, when did this come out? 90, 80?
Yeah,
90?
Yeah.
All right. So this is right after Die Hard. So we got Bruce Willis is in France,
okay,
on a secret mission, and he is sending secret postcards to his wife back in New York City.
This is great.
Played by Brigitte Nielsen.
All right, okay,
there you go.
Yeah, I don't think our guests really like that. See, I was thinking more of like a Midnight Run situation, and I was thinking like Billy Crystal and Stallone, or Billy Crystal, maybe even in De Niro. And they're like, one's a struggling writer, and he gets caught up on assignment somewhere, and accidentally bumps into like a spy, and they have to go on the run because they both get compromised, and he gets caught up in it. And then Billy Crystal is turning their situations into a novel that we see gets published at the end of the book. Therefore, the postcards are from the Edge.
Or you could do sort of a Purple Rain style film with the guitarist from U2.
Oh, the Edge. Yeah. And Bono's the bad guy.
And it's really just a film about him writing letters to his long lost love.
Who is Brigitte
Postcards
Nielsen.
From the Edge.
Who's Brigitte Nielsen as well?
No, this is Molly Ringwald trying to break through into the world of kind of grown up movies. Yeah, Edge and Molly Ringwald.
This is going to make so much money at the box office. But instead, it is not that at all. And Jay, we're not here alone. We're bringing back our good friend, Christina Jeurling Birro. Christina, do you have a alternative film with the title Postcards from the Edge?
First of all, it twirled up, just so you know.
Yeah, it did. It did. It did twirl up.
Yeah. Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I have to say the U2 Edge Molly Ringwald version pretty much is my favorite thing I've ever heard. I have to see this movie.
Who's directing it?
And I can't wait to hear sort of and I see it being filmed somewhere on an Irish cliff. The whole thing is just perfect.
That sounds really good.
Ryan, you know who's directing it?
Who?
Bono.
Oh, Bono's going to get behind the chair.
Bono's getting behind the camera.
How do you think it would be if that movie
really? Don't we have an Irish? Don't you think someone
like John McTiernan couldn't do it? You know what I mean? Like who did Die Hard? Like couldn't you?
Well, this is a different kind of film. This has moved from an action movie to, in my opinion, more of a romantic drama with music. Yeah, of course.
And postcards.
Stylized. Yeah, I think it's pretty stylized, almost a Purple Rain. Again, I think this is kind of his Purple Rain.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I will say this is that when they gave Bono all that money to do that Spider-Man musical. That really worked out. So maybe this movie would totally work out too, right?
I mean, it probably would. Yeah.
It probably would. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that. Hopefully, well, you never know. We could talk about that some more. We're here to talk about Postcards from the Edge, starring Meryl Streep and Shirley MacLaine, directed by Mike Nichols, written by Carrie Fisher from her autobiographical novel of the same name. But before we get into that, Christina, we knew that we were going to have you back on soon for this Mike Nichols series. When I told you about it, Christina, you were very excited to talk about Mike Nichols, and I know you're a big fan. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Mike Nichols as a director, what you love about him, what makes him unique for you and makes you want to go back into his filmography every now and then?
Of course. I mean, like most, I'm in awe of those two first films he directed, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and The Graduate, truly one of the most formidable directorial debuts in modern history, and the fact that he can work so incredibly across genres. But I think for me, the most fascinating aspect of Nichols has almost always been the surgical dissection that he does of relationships, kind of, and mostly maybe the anatomy of an argument. The argument that you can have with someone that's so close to the bone that it's almost vicious. You know, Burton and Taylor and Virginia Woolf, Streep and MacLaine on the stairs there in this movie that we're going to talk about. Do you guys remember Julia Roberts and Clive Owen in Closer? They have this really, really harsh argument in the kitchen, and there's this really open staircase behind them. And I remember thinking, Justin Trier, she was thinking of this when she did An Anatomy of a Fall. She has that sort of setup and that really horribly vicious fight that they have. But then there's this subgenre that Mike Nichols does, or I want to call it a subgenre, that's even more fascinating because he was particularly fascinated with celebrity and celebrities in movies. And he does this reality meets fiction with celebrity subgenre where he works with Elizabeth Taylor and Burton, Fisher in this one, her narrative in Postcards from the Edge, Nora Ephron in Heartburn, and these really fascinating examples of almost real celebrity biopic type of things that just have been fascinating to me.
And he also directed a dolphin that tried to kill the president of the United States.
That's true.
Yeah.
Less fascinating
Unwittingly.
in this way, but still.
I don't know. I heard the dolphin was actually the first choice in this film to play Carrie Fisher, and sadly, the dolphin was busy. So they settled for Meryl, which is, I mean, it's fine. You know what I mean, Jay? Like, I guess
Postcards from the Mariana Trench.
Oh my God. Okay.
Postcards from SeaWorld.
There you go. Oh man. Oh, that could be a dark movie. A very dark movie. No, I agree with all your points there, Christina. That's why it's been like so fascinating to go on down this rabbit hole with him and the various collaborators, and it's almost like him working a lot at times with his friends and these comfortable screenwriters, these great screenwriters. And we're talking about Carrie Fisher today, who was a great writer as well as a really well-known actress, and then his relationship with Elaine May, Neil Simon, working with Nora Ephron, but then also his like we've talked about, Jay, his relationship with actors, and it's on full display in this film, Postcards from the Edge, that we're here to talk about today. Christina, when we put this out there, this was one that you ran to, and you kind of alluded to a little bit in your love for Nichols there, why this one sort of you gravitated towards it. But when you did the rewatch for this, what about Postcards from the Edge made you sort of excited to talk about?
Well, the thing about Postcards from the Edge is that it's so many levels. If going back to what I was talking about before, I mean, besides the absolutely unbelievable, which I think my favorite part of it, and I think for most people, the collaboration between Streep and Shirley MacLaine, which is just one of the most incredible mother-daughter things we've ever seen on cinema. But this has this level of Hollywood lore and legend that I think we have to sort of look at. That's kind of mind-blowing. So level one, we have to talk about Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher, of course, the mother-daughter. Sort of behind the book, behind this duo. Carrie Fisher said that it has sort of went back and forth saying how true it really was, but I don't know. You have to think that there's a lot in here.
Okay, Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie, please don't backtrack on this one. Just a thing that like Debbie Reynolds actually wanted to play Doris, and Nichols had to tell her, "You're not right for the part." I mean, that's just like the most incredible.
What a
thing.
conversation you have to have there, right? You know what I mean?
Apparently, Carrie Fisher really liked that.
Yes.
She inevitably wouldn't get it, but the fact that she was kind of begging for it, Carrie Fisher took a lot of, I think, pleasure in that.
That's the whole core of the central relationship here.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the next level is Meryl Streep, who had this incredible partnership with Nichols. From Silkwood to Heartburn, he was incredible at working with actors and incredible at working with actresses. And in general, his relationship to women. I'm sure that everyone has read the incredible book, the Mark Harris book. And there you can really follow how, from Elaine May and forward, how he his relationship to women, to actresses, to listening to, screenwriting partners, and that I find really fascinating. And you can see that Meryl Streep is doing something special with Nichols in all her movies with him. Then you have the Shirley MacLaine aspect, this no-nonsense movie star who is, of course, one of the absolute best. If you're ever doing anything where I can come on and talk about The Apartment, is probably my favorite all-time movie ever. But then around this time, she was playing all these complicated mother types from Terms of Endearment. I've referenced, Jay, you as a parent. Have you ever thought of the Give My Daughter the Shot scene from Terms of Endearment, where Deborah Winger is lying, she's in total pain in the hospital, and Shirley MacLaine as the mother is just running around screaming, "Give my daughter the shot," which is apparent. And I spent some time in hospitals with one of my sons, and that scene comes up in my head all the time, and no one can do it better than Shirley MacLaine with such pain and such strength. She was great as she just did these roles that were no nonsense, which she does here as well. And bringing her Hollywood legend into Doris is amazing. And then, of course, the movie is filled with all the supporting cast. You have Gene Hackman, who I think is playing a version of Mike Nichols himself, who the year before had worked with Melanie Griffith on Working Girl, who herself had all these addiction problems, and he was sort of helping her out, going between helping and frustration, whose mother was Tippi Hedren. All these levels. Richard Dreyfuss pops up in Postcards from the Edge as the doctor who pumps her stomach. He tells Suzanne, "Why don't we go see a movie?" She suggests Valley of the Doll, a movie that he had a small role in. You have Dennis Quaid, you have Annette Bening, you have Rob Reiner, and all these layers included in this really incredible relationship between mother and daughter, where as a daughter myself, I'm not a mother of daughters, but I'm a daughter of a mother. There's so much relatable things, even though I'm so far away from the world that they're depicting, that it's just a fabulous package.
It is a fascinating film, one that I can't wait for us to continue to dive in. Jay, was this a first time watch for you?
First watch.
First time watch. And since there is nothing in between our past episode and this one, we're jumping right from Working Girl all the way into Postcards from the Edge. So, buddy, for yourself here, what'd you think of Postcards from the Edge?
It is such an interesting movie in his career. Had this being a first watch, that first scene when you kind of think, oh, so this is like some kind of, because I didn't know what it's about. You don't know anything about what it's about from the title. Again, it sounds like a movie where some people are traveling. It sounds like Romancing the Stone or something is the closest kind of title,
the genre
similar title I could kind of think of. And so it starts out as them trying to get home from a foreign country, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I didn't know this was kind of the vibe. And then you hear cut, and I'm like, oh, is this Mike Nichols the player? is that what we're going for here? That would absolutely rock. And it is this pretty elaborate oneer after Mike Nichols had really kind of pushed that kind of showy filmmaking aside for most of the 80s. And that I love in and of itself. And then he kind of bookends the movie with oneers at the beginning and the end, which are both equally impressive. And then kind of he kind of is like, I miss doing this really kind of athletic kind of impressive filmmaking as he gets into the 90s. But I love that he's kind of returning to that a little bit. But it really is all about the central relationship in the film between the Shirley MacLaine character and the Meryl Streep character. And I love that Meryl is kind of a little bit going outside of the realm that people are familiar with from her. She is a much harsher character. She's got a much harder edge to her. She's extraordinarily flawed and occasionally off-putting, but it has that Meryl Streep center to it where you're always empathetic to what she's going through, no matter how irrationally she can behave or irresponsible she can be. There's still that Meryl Streep of it all where you're continuing to root for her, especially when Dennis Quaid, who is very clearly playing the same character that he played in The Substance, um, is being just truly one of the most despicable men who has ever existed. He's looking great. And also, he was coked out to hell and back
It's
making
the
this movie.
prequel to The Substance, really. I mean, this
Exactly.
is
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
character.
exactly.
It really
It's
truly is
Harvey.
like a young producer, yeah, who is just drugged up, exploiting women left and right. It's actually hilarious how similar those characters are. You can totally see him turning into that guy. But it's such a fun movie, just as far as the filmmaking is concerned. I love that he's returning to kind of a more formally audacious sensibility a little bit with this movie. And it is very emotionally impactful. It has those biting lines of dialogue, those biting arguments that Christina was talking about, that just hit you. They cut you. And I love it for that reason. It is, in the 80s, Mike Nichols became a very female centric filmmaker. Um, that meant two things. One, he got less money to make his movies because that's how this stupid business works. And two, I think it meant that he changed his kind of general sensibilities to a softer mode of filmmaking. And this is a softer kind of filmmaking with a harsher central figure in the movie. And especially coming off of Working Girl, which you could maybe argue the final cut undercut his final vision for that movie, but that's definitely a an easier film to digest than this one. And I like the thorniness of this movie. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, buddy, I'm the same way. I mean, I've seen this movie before, but it's been a very long time. This is like the first time I've actually watched this since we lost both Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher a couple years ago, and I was very hesitant to go back to it because it's Singing in the Rain is one of those like very important films. I know for everybody, but like for me, I saw that a lot when I was a kid, and I think that propelled her to a place of stardom that was unlike anybody. I mean, she's 18 years old on that set of that movie, and Gene Kelly is hounding her, and just making her life miserable at times because he sees the potential in her, and for better or worse, that kind of um, that helped her and then also hurt her at the same time. And then, you know, the same sort of gigantic phenomenon happened to her daughter, where she is playing Princess Leia and gets propelled into stardom on an even more gigantic level for the next 20 years of her career. And there's already these massive amount of expectations that are put on her shoulders from being the daughter of Debbie Reynolds. That's a star of one of the greatest films, if not the greatest film ever made. And then you're in this phenomenon um, that is Star Wars, along with various other
Debbie
things.
Reynolds, that's the lady from Halloween Town,
Correct, buddy. Yes,
most
Halloween Town.
famously.
Is that your go-to Halloween? That's not your go-to Halloween movie.
It's my go-to Reynolds.
Yeah. Oh, that's your go-to Reynolds. Oh, not
Yeah,
seeing.
I think that's her best work.
That's her
I
pantheon.
think she peaked with Halloween Town.
She didn't quite have it until she went to Halloween Town. That's what
you said it.
Okay. Well, isn't there like sequels to that thing?
Oh yeah, Halloween Town 2, Halloween Town 3. I think there's maybe like a Halloween Town High. Is that a thing?
Postcards from Halloween Town.
Yep, Halloween Town High was a thing, and Return to Halloween Town as well.
You know what's
Halloween
crazy
2, Halloween Town 2, of course, subtitled like Calabar's Revenge.
That's true. And what is crazy is like it's set in like this rural like town, and because Debbie Reynolds starts going on a killing spree, they have to say "Evil dies tonight," and they have to take down Debbie Reynolds in that movie, right? Like that's. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Halloween Kills, and I'm combining that with Halloween.
Debbie Reynolds' first build in Halloween Towns 1 and 2 and Halloween Town High, 7th build in Return to Halloween Town. I must admit, I have not seen Return to Halloween Town, but I just think that's disrespectful.
Luckily for the listeners out there, that's our next movie series that we're going to be doing. It's the films of Halloween Town. Spoiler alert out there. No, I'm just kidding. We're never going to touch those films.
Who directed Halloween Town?
You can keep that to yourself until I'm hopefully done here.
Dwayne Dunham.
God damn it. All right. Well, that's what the show is, folks.
He edited Return of the Jedi.
Well, there you go. Hey, there's your connection
on Return of the Jedi.
Well, there's your connection right there. But then
he edited Blue Velvet.
All right, I'm going to stop you there.
And Wild at Heart.
I hate you so much right now.
He directed Homeward Bound.
Oh, I like Homeward Bound. That's a good movie.
Yeah, it's fun.
Suddenly, Ryan perked up, and it is the new series you're doing.
Well, okay. Looks like we're doing Editor Watch. Dwayne Watch. But no, so it was very hard to watch this.
He directed 3 episodes of Twin Peaks.
I'm going to mute you right now. Please stop. Please stop.
Jim. That's actually wild. The director of Halloween Town directed 3 episodes of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, you don't see the same aesthetic that gets carried. Why do I help you?
Fascinating. Anyway, okay, you can keep talking about Postcards from the Edge.
Thank you, buddy. All right, so put on this film, watched it, and in the context of Nichols' career, you both kind of mentioned it, but there is this just sort of fascination that intersects, like Christina, you mentioned it, the last film he just did, the sort of Hollywood connection between Melanie Griffith and Tippi Hedren, and going through that whole film and that experience, and that sort of being, for Melanie Griffith, maybe the biggest, if not the second biggest film that most people know her from. You've got him working tirelessly throughout his career with movie stars. The idea of fame is always at the tip of his work's sort of tongue, and this is the ultimate film, I think, in his filmography when it's talking about that. And he's, this really Carrie and Meryl were very close friends, and were very close friends before this and after this. Sort of grew up around each other, and I think that there's a familiarity within the performance that Meryl has here that really makes it shine. It's an incredible performance from Meryl because it feels very lived in, and it doesn't have to be fully researched because it feels as if she's telling the story of a friend. And Shirley MacLaine is incredible here, essentially, as Doris playing Debbie Reynolds, and you can feel that, you can see that, and if you have that knowledge in you, watching this film, you can totally get that, and it shines through in their performances and their relationship dynamic, the history of Hollywood, the history of this family, the history of what these two had kind of gone through, and how the machine had sort of spit them out and gave them the lives and the circumstances that they had. But if you just look at it as a film, and you just look at about what this movie is in terms of what Nichols has been kind of alluding to, which is, his examinations of women and their places in the world, it isn't also a very fascinating thing that he's turned the eye now to a place that he has an up and down relationship with as well, which is Hollywood. He's a man of the stage, but he's also, this guy that has gone through in and out of, having the highest of successes himself on his first two films, and then sort of in the middle of finding his ground back in and having to do some projects that probably were of lesser of his contemporaries. And I do think that he gets to inject himself in here and a little bit of his story mixed with Carrie's story, and it makes for a really fascinating film. I think the ensemble around Meryl and Shirley MacLaine are incredible. I think, like you guys mentioned, Dennis Quaid is an absolute uh, dick in this movie,
He starts off well.
No, he doesn't start off good.
He's awful at first. Then you're kind of like, huh? And then you're like, oh.
And then and then but this was like the year that Annette Bening sort of broke out too, and it's very interesting about like, you know, Annette Bening then being later married to Warren Beatty, who is Shirley MacLaine's sister. So you have that connection as well there too.
Annette Bening, a real Nichols regular from here on out.
Very much
And
so.
did you guys notice at rewatch how much Margaret Qualley looks like her in this
really
movie?
does.
I was just wow. I thought at first glance
That's
it was really.
But I just thought the one of the things outside of I think the scene of the film for me isn't necessarily the staircase scene. It's the scene in the hospital bed when Shirley MacLaine's in the hospital and she's applying the makeup and getting her ready for the cameras there. I gotta say,
Such a good scene.
There's just always, when we're doing these older movies, Jay, you know I'm a big Hackman guy, and you're a big Hackman guy, and Hackman's just in this movie for about 2 or 3 scenes, and he's just knocking it out of the park.
He's the man.
Here's nobody better than him. Like it's remarkable how I was texting a friend of ours, and I was just like, why don't we have actors like Gene Hackman anymore? You know, why don't we have actors like Hackman or, you know, Philip Seymour Hoffman? Where happened to these actors?
What happened to people with interesting faces?
Exactly.
Right? Why does everybody have to be so pretty?
Everybody's too clean. You know what I mean? Everybody's, you know,
he was a movie star, and he looked like Gene Hackman.
It looked like a working man.
And people were like, "Oh, this guy's kind of hot."
Yeah, and he is. His smoke show in this. You know what I mean?
Smoke show in that?
Hell yeah.
I think that
because
might
of
be
his
a bit of a
endearing
stretch,
qualities, I would say, and his endearing qualities make him a smoke show compared to most of the scumbags.
What did you think was endearing about him when he says, "If you mess up my movie, I will kill you. I will murder you"?
Yeah, pretty much so. But no, I think the way he can sort of consoles her by the end of that.
No. At the end when they're doing the ADR stuff, I think that's a great scene too.
That's a great damn scene. It really is. And so, yeah, I just think this is a damn good movie. And but it also has it has that familiarity of a real life relationship. And you know, the movie I thought about movie I thought about a lot watching this was I thought about The Fabelmans. That was a movie I thought about a lot when watching Postcards from the Age. Was just like, it's this fictionalized yet real account of a point in history and very famous people and how they got to their very messed up lives or lack thereof messed up lives as well too. So
Dwayne Dunham directed the second episode of Twin Peaks. It goes pilot, David Lynch. Next episode, Dwayne Dunham. Next episode, David Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
That rules.
Now you kind of want to go back and watch the second episode.
He is one of the like minor architects of Twin Peaks. And then he became a Disney Channel original movie staple.
Well, why did he do the second episode? Why didn't Lynch just do the second episode?
Why not, man? He directed Halloween Town, The 13th Year, Double Teamed, Right on Track. These are all Disney Channel. That's the one with the twins who play basketball.
Oh, that's a good movie. Yeah.
Right on Track.
Right on Track. It's got to be like a skateboard movie.
Tiger Cruise. That's another Disney Channel original starring the great Bill Pullman.
Okay. All right.
And then some other stuff. He also edited all of Twin Peaks: The Return.
Oh, wow.
This dude rules.
Now Jay's found his buddy for life.
Dwayne Dunham.
Dwayne Dunham, come on the podcast. You're more than welcome to come here. Jay's got probably a million questions for you. And none of them are about
Debbie Reynolds would
directorial.
have been so pissed at always being Dwayne Dunham's coming up in her segments.
Exactly. Come on, Jay. You know better than that. It's Debbie Reynolds. But no,
Also
I just
directed Little Giants.
God damn it. All right. Christina, this movie is really good. And
It's really good.
we're
One of
just
the
gonna
smartest thing they did, I think, was that the book is really great too, but it's much more concentrated on Suzanne's rehab and substance abuse, and they really pushed up the mother-daughter relationship here when she wrote the script. And for me, that's just the gold of this film.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
they
sure.
said when she wrote the script, the way that it was described in the Mark Harris book was she basically threw the book in a trash can and set it on fire
Hmm.
and essentially rewrote everything. Which is really interesting. And then Nichols was most interested in that mother-daughter dynamic, which I think is a good approach. And they wanted the terms of endearment thing again. That's the pitch
Hmm.
to a studio, right? Is we're going to get Shirley MacLaine back in terms of endearment mode. And
We're gonna get
I think
Meryl
that pays
Streep.
huge dividends.
Yeah.
It
No,
does.
it really does because I mean you're and it's easy also to, in terms of endearment, like there is this tug and pull between those characters, but like literally this is goes beyond that because if you can say, you know, what is Carrie Fisher, then interject more. She injects more of her life. She injects more of what happened to her. She injects her childhood. She injects, I think those scenes like at the when she's singing and she has to be completely vulnerable as a writer to write about not just an account of her mother, an account of herself, but then being an addict and going into that and examining the pitfalls of how she became that, not trying to make excuses for herself because I don't think Suzanne is written with excuses in. I think that this is it's just honest and truthful and that this person has a lot of talent and it's very reflective. And that's why like again I was thinking a lot of the Fablemans and how Spielberg used that movie not to, he had a lot of blame on his. Christina, we've talked about this before on your show. He didn't have, he blamed his father a lot for so many years and he didn't have the full story. So by the time he was able to make that movie, he was able to have the full picture and have both of those characters be fully fleshed out where there isn't blame, it's just life and circumstance. And that's what I think is so great about, Meryl here is that she's playing this person that isn't trying to blame anyone. There's no blame in this movie. It's just kind of lived in, and this is how it happens. And I don't think any, and because the minute they start blaming each other is when then the movie bad things happen to both of them, and then they come together and realize that I can't blame you. I can't. When she's sitting in that bed and she goes, I can't be mad at you. I can't blame you. You know what I mean? Because that love is so deep between them and it's great because they're the only ones that can really understand each other, right? Because you see the grandmother character and I love that interaction there of, finally Suzanne just basically like telling her grandmother to shut the hell up.
Shout out to
And
the grandpa.
yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to the grandpa. It's just like, I'm gonna just sit here and be
He's just
quiet.
over it.
Yap, 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 yap,
Yep,
yap,
yep,
yap.
yep, yep, yep. But the fact that then Doris looks at her and says, I would have never treated you like that woman essentially treated me. And so there is a generational recognition there of that. The life we had both together through this industry, it's the industry's fault, but we're not going to blame it. We're going to stay strong together because we have each other. And I
What
do
what
think, and I do think that the tragedy in a lot of Carrie Fisher, sadly, um, is the fact that in real life she had her mother, and then when she lost her mother, it was it, it that's when she relapsed. You know what I mean? And it's sad, to see that happen and everything. But I think
But
that
what
I
both
think that
Nichols and
yeah,
sorry if I can just
yeah,
to what you're saying there, but what Nichols and Carrie Fisher do so well with this story is that both of these women have so much agency. You can feel them through the parts. Doris could have been such a very irritating, crazy character, but you feel underneath, you understand that this is an old Hollywood workhorse. She has worked her entire life. You understand what she's been put through from male directors and producers and what she's had to go through in order to make this life that she has. She has all these faults. She loves her daughter, but this is the perspective that she's coming from when she's trying to help her with her career and her addictions. And on the other hand, you very much understand the daughter and where she's coming from. And the way that he works with both of these characters to give them so much flesh and bone, I think is fascinating. And that's why I think that even though it's so far removed from all of our own lives as children, as daughters, but we can understand and hear so much in these fights that they're having. And just the, the jealousy from that she has for her daughter, and that incredible line where Meryl Streep says, "You want me to succeed, but not more than you."
Mm-hmm. I do, and I do think that but again, like the arguing back and forth between them on that staircase, and Doris telling her, you only want to talk about the bad parts. You don't want to talk about any of the good parts, but yet she can't come up with any of those good parts either.
Mm.
And
It
they're
twirled up.
it twirled up, and yet they are both cut from the same cloth. And this idea of that, um, their lives are entangled. It weirdly feels inevitable that they will be together, but they also are. You can see when Suzanne is singing, Doris is so wrapped up in it, but then also completely enthralled. So she won't tell her how talented really she is without there being some sort of a backhanded compliment there. That's, sort of how some parents are. But then you could also see in that moment when she's watching her sing that she has this realization of like that, my God, she is extremely talented and she is my daughter, and she is carrying on something that I can't do maybe anymore, or wasn't able to do, and does see potential in her. Of course she's going to do it in her way and say it in her way, which is can sound very condescending at times, and can kick her down a bit. But then also too, we see her on set, and we see that she does, if she wants to, which is kind of like the interesting thing about the film too, and that Meryl Streep is playing this, because Meryl can be known for walking through performances, but when the ADR scene comes on and she gets it, in one hit, you're like, oh, that's right, this is a generational actress, and so that's why it's a very interesting thing to see these two generational actresses playing these icons, is because they can inhabit them better than probably just about anybody else. And Meryl is
Yeah,
this
that's
isn't
so amazing, that
and this
the
isn't the first
level
time.
of legend.
Exactly. And this isn't the first time that Meryl has worked with Nichols at examining the writer of their film. I mean, Heartburn is a film that we talked about. It's not particularly one that I think to the level of this film in terms of its execution. And I don't think that I think that movie is messier than this one. But they had that sort of walkthrough already to get to this point, and I think that that's why I wouldn't call it effortless, but I would say that like there's a sense of like when you watch Meryl in this, she sort of is able to embody this very easy, I think, because of the fact that it is very close to her. And so it's like in a way this performance is almost like it is like telling a story that your friend has already told you multiple times. And so you're able to have that all that knowledge sort of built up in the back of her mind as she's trying to play this person, but also play one of her best friends, while also working with this director who is trying to get this sort of precision like story all to come together. Jay, were you going to say something?
And I just think it was easy for Shirley MacLaine to inhabit her role as well, because bubbling jealousy of the younger actress was definitely something that existed during the production of this movie,
Yeah.
to the point that apparently when the voice coach for both Meryl and Shirley MacLaine would go over to Shirley MacLaine, she would say like, "How? So tell me, can she sing? Like, can she actually sing? How good was she? Like, how's she doing?" Um, so I think that really reads in the film as well. it is the difference between this movie and Heartburn for me, which again are these in the case of Heartburn, that is, I mean, they literally litigated how accurate it was to real life. So
Yeah.
that was the most thinly veiled autobiographical work of quote unquote fiction in history. This is a little more heightened than that as far as um as far as it's straying away from the true reality, although who entirely knows. But um this movie to me is a little more willing to have fun than the other one, even though it is extremely dark. It also has this balance that I think Heartburn kind of lacks, and I think is one of Nichols' great powers is the ability to balance occasional great cynicism with a real sense of vitality, which this movie definitely has. And you see some of that playfulness in the dream sequences, for one, as well as the behind the scenes. The first time you see Meryl Streep hanging from the roof on her stomach, like in front of this video screen, it's just gold. It's such a great stylish visual that I think again is Nichols returning to that cheekier style of impressive look at me filmmaking, which I think he's really good at. And I understand why he strayed away from it, especially after all the misses that he had in the 70s, but he's good at it. I'm glad to see him get back to it because he is capable of being a very stylish filmmaker. He also makes really good films when he's being more understated, but it's nice to see him return to kind of that earlier version of himself.
Yeah, I feel like the movie could be um this could have been way more melodramatic though. This could have been way more over the top. And I think that that's Nichols working with Fisher to understand the right sort of tone and knowing the relationship, but then also
That's also just not
establishing
Nichols' thing.
it's no well, I mean, he can have films that have these massive blowups. I mean, shoot, Carnal Knowledge has an entire
Massive
sequence,
blowups, yes, but I
you
don't think
know.
that it necessarily equates to
But
melodrama.
most of the stories like this about people in Hollywood, Jay, you would agree. At a certain point, this would get way sappy and way too,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like this
yeah. I
movie.
mean, it
This
could have turned Terms of Endearment, a movie I love.
Yeah, I love that
It
movie,
could have
but
turned into that weepy, super saccharine finale.
and then you throw in just the Hollywood aspect too. It can just be very and like the movie could have been very on the nose, but this movie has like an ease and a comfort to it. And yeah, I mean there is like sort of the understandableness of like when she goes back to work, and most of the time we're seeing her in the second act of this movie like in her costume. Like she and I find that to have been very interesting in the fact that like she's in costume most of the time, probably not because she's wanting to be, because that's when she's most comfortable, is being on that set or being in that costume, or because she's been around it her entire life. And it is funny that like
But
that
God,
Doris
she's
Asper.
just so fat in this. I mean, the producers really nailed it. She's just
I mean, she's
it's crazy.
it's crazy, but then also she's having to sort of build herself back up from the the rehab and from the pumping the stomach sequence and everything. And that's uh, a sequence that in the film, I mean, there's a couple of like funny moments in her where she's where she's on the table and what's the line that she's when they said we're gonna have to punt your stomach, and she's just like today, or like like or are you sure, or something like that. I like it's like there's a joke or something in there because
I
inherently
like the
that's
next morning when they tell her that they pumped her stomach and she's like, "Oh, that's what." And she like grabs her throat and is like, "Oh, that's what
oh
that
okay.
was."
But I think it's
I
it
remember hearing a discussion by somebody that her drug addiction is not, I mean, it's not the grittiest ever depicted on
no
film. I
no
mean,
it's
if it would have been done today, she would have been a completely different depiction of her.
we've also would have seen her like most of the movie would have been there, like
Yeah.
that would have been most of what the movie's point was about, like of her and then there would have been again like a big blow up scene with like her and
Requiem for a Dream.
yeah, and,
Right.
and Doris sitting there and be like, "You caused this," and then be like, "I didn't put the pills in your mouth." You know what I mean? Like it would be very over the top.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And and that would it would be taking place in one location that entire thing. It would be Cuckoo's Nest, probably almost even like to a certain degree.
I'm trying to think, like, what's a recent drug movie?
The Outrun, Saoirse Ronan.
Oh
Did you
my
see that?
god!
Oh, didn't see The Outrun.
Oh my god! Just what a boring movie. Oh my god!
Yeah,
Christina, you
that's
didn't
kind of
like
the
it either,
universal
right?
opinion I
no.
heard of that movie.
God, it's like
And I love her, and the idea was it was just somehow they managed to not make me feel anything.
I felt numb watching that thing. Like there's this. It is so Irish, too, by the way, and it's just like it's just sucks.
That will not be the director of our postcards
No,
from
it
the
will not
Edge
be.
movie.
No,
I guess the last big one was
The
Beautiful
Edge.
Boy.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, like,
yeah.
oh, Beautiful
Beautiful
Boy.
Boy.
Though was Chalamet.
Yeah.
Hmm.
God,
Never
I
saw
hated-
that one either.
Got it. I hated that movie.
I heard it was quite bad.
That movie's rough. One,
The book is incredible. If you have, it's
Yeah.
the real the
I've heard
father
that
who's
is, but
actually.
like, but the movie is so repetitive and
Yeah, it's
over the
because they
top
don't.
and
Yeah, it's
well,
it just.
it feels like a short almost. It
Mhm.
doesn't feel like it should be a full length feature. And also, I just don't think Carell and Chalamet were cast together. Like, I think Chalamet is actually kind of bad in that movie, and I think Carell is doing the best he can. But like again, it could get really
Oh,
sappy.
Cherry.
I know. Ugh, ooh. You mean
That's a movie that people forget about
with you
existing.
with your boy Tom Holland?
That is one of the worst movies that has come out in the last 10 years.
Jake, can I ask you a quick question real quick? And this is
You can.
since you brought up Cherry into Tom Holland, and just
Yeah.
going to ask you real quick. He's supposedly going to be the lead in the Odyssey. What do you think of that?
Not super stoked about it.
But do you think that if anybody can get a good performance out of him, it's Nolan?
I think Holland,
In Nolan we trust?
I don't know. What's the best Holland performance? Is it Lost City of Z?
Probably.
Excuse
so.
me, Lost City of Z.
Well, The Impossible, probably when he was young kid, right? In that
Yeah.
film?
I don't know. The thing about Tom Holland, I'm rooting for. He seems like a genuinely nice guy.
Well, he probably hasn't ever been given the opportunity with this kind of material since the Lost.
But also,
City
how
of Z.
can you root for him when he's already getting engaged to Zendaya? I mean, it's just like
I was
how
just
many
gonna say,
wins
it's not
can a
like
guy
he's an
have?
underdog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how many wins?
He
can
is
a
in
guy
that
have?
household. Are you kidding me? Like that guy's not finishing first in anything. Like he can be Spider-Man, and it's like, well, I'm still holding the purse at my own premiere because it's like Zendaya is like a global superstar. I mean, is he? He's not a global superstar, right? Like he's not like a movie. He's barely even a movie
He's-
star yet.
The
Right?
Spider-Man, I'd say he
He's
is for a
pretty
certain
freaking
crowd.
big.
Is he a star? He's a star.
Yes, his
Movie
movies
star?
make money.
What movies?
Uncharted.
Okay, is that the only one that we can say outside of Spider-Man?
Well, I mean, obviously, Cherry made $750 million.
Oh, that's right. I
Domestic.
Totally forgot about it. Well, I feel okay. So would you only say like it's Chalamet and Holland? Is that our future?
Those are very different guys. I don't know that Holland. I
He's not as big as
understand your point
Chalamet,
about
yeah.
is Holland.
Getting there.
I don't think there's any sort of guarantee that Holland will be around for the next 20 years.
I will say this though. He's in that Odyssey movie. It's going to make $1 billion. So it doesn't really matter if he's.
But isn't his biggest performance the Rihanna lip sync dance?
That's probably
That was
it.
big.
That's
yeah.
what
Jay, have you ever seen that?
you see.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, he's an impressive
Everyone's seen it.
dancer. Didn't he do like Billy Elliot?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that on stage. He also
Yeah.
won it. There was rumored at one time he was going to do the Fred Astaire biopic, and Paul King was going to direct.
Oh
it.
yeah,
The Paddington guy.
that
would've
was the
been-
thing.
That'd been interesting.
Yeah, but it would have been interesting because of Paul King.
He hasn't
who's-
been in that. As I'm looking, he hasn't been in that many movies.
He hasn't been in that much. Yeah, so that's what's
I
interesting.
can't believe the rabbit holes we're going down. Again, Debbie Reynolds would have
this
been
is
pissed.
this is the show. I don't know you.
I'm just
How many
kidding.
times have you been on now? You know the show. I don't know. I'm just curious about how he'll be in that movie. I keep thinking about it. You got a giant cast of great actors surrounding him.
How did we get here?
How did we get here? It's like
I
we were.
don't know.
It's like we were on the edge of something, and
Oh, we were
right in the
talking
postcard.
about drug addicts on film.
Yes,
right.
that's right.
That's what it
Cherry.
was.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
Cherry
got to
man.
talk about Cherry.
Sometimes you
Yeah.
got to talk about Cherry. Um, but no,
And
y'all.
Doris is a very specific alcoholic of her time.
Yes, she is. She is.
The old Hollywood actress, always with a drink in hand.
And I know how to control it because
Hmm.
you know what I mean, and not go over the top because because she's learned through the system and everything of how to hide it and how to fake it. Love her morning smoothie,
Hmm.
which turns into
She pours so much vodka into that
so
thing.
much fucking
Oh
into
my God.
that. And that glass is gone in terms of, like, by the time she gets to the stairs, it is gone. Like there is no smoothie left in that thing. It was like a
And the whole
mega,
thing that she gave her sleeping pills when she was a kid. And I mean, that's probably what she got from the studio. And there's all these things baked in there.
yeah. They're
Definitely
all
borrows
baked.
from the Judy Garland lore
Hmm.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
Right.
It's
I
definitely
I had a
baked.
meeting with Mr. Mayor while he was sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's baked in there, but it's not screamed. And I think that that's what's so great
Exactly.
about
That's
it.
what's so genius.
But then the movie likes to showcase these two's relationship, and that it's that they can endure through all this without, and of course there's going to be times where they're going to point the blame, but at the end of it, they're the two that only matter. Like she's got a man, like the, what is it, like the stepdad, I guess, or like it's not even her father, and he's just like this bump on a log watching television, and she's got Dennis Quaid, who's like the bad taste with with that guy, and these grandparents that are clearly leached on still from the money that either both of them had made, and yet they're the only ones that can understand each other. They are
You
the
mentioned that
mirror of each other.
incredible scene at the end when she's
Yeah,
putting makeup on her before she goes to meet the press after
I
the car
cried
accident.
watching that thing.
Yeah. And how flawlessly Streep puts makeup. You can like that you really can feel that she's been doing this her whole life since she
Yeah,
was a child. She knows how she wants her eyelashes. She knows what she wants this. At the same time that they're having this very maybe not for them, but for the audience, deep and particular conversation. It's just flawless. There you can really see the relationship between them and what you were saying, that they cannot be without each other.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely killer line in that scene is when she says, "Are you less mad at me now?" And she says,
yeah.
"I've always been less mad at you, Mom." That's good. That
It's good
is
So good.
stuff.
good stuff.
Fisher, incredible writing. I mean, the
Oh,
screenplay is incredible. I just think that that's that that's that understanding, and it's
for me,
just
the funniest killer line, the funniest line, that's the most emotional line in terms of being a daughter. But I love the your mother could have been Joan Crawford or Lana Turner, and Meryl Streep goes, "Those are my choices."
oh my god. But I love also my favorite moment in the film. One of my the funniest moments in the film is am I too late for like the rehab thing, or like for the parent teacher night or whatever. And she's like, yeah, mom, you just missed it, and everything, and then when the whole meeting of the roommate, which is, I mean, it's very funny, and that's the thing too. The movie is dancing between the line of what the industry does to women, addiction, childhood trauma, all these things, and it's dancing through the line of how Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds were, where they did talk about these things, but you can feel their voices shining through because they also were incredibly witty, smart women that were able to use humor as a way to sort of heal themselves through difficult situations. And there was that very awkward scene that probably Suzanne has had to deal with her entire life, when Doris walks in, and these these two guys that are in the rehab, these two gay, this gay couple is like literally like, your work saved my life, and he starts singing it, and she is like rushing her around the corner to get as fast out of this out of this sequence as possible, and her eyes just rolling, but knowing that she still needs her, and they're in the car, and it moves on to the next bit. And I don't know, the first half of this movie that was in stitches because Jay, you mentioned like when she gets back on the set after everything that's happened, and she's like the scene is her as a cop hanging over the edge, and she's just fed up with it being, people talking behind her back and having to be sober and all these different things and literally living back at home and all this stuff. And that I think an iconic shot of it where the scene looks as if she's going to fall from a skyscraper or whatever, and she just puts up her hands like, this is it. This is I can't take it. Like, it's very funny, but it's also sad at the same time. And it's the good tonal balance that this movie has that I think is the trick that Nichols and Fisher are able to pull off alongside these actors.
And Carrie
And the
Fisher does sort of have a
non-nicotine.
similar sensibility to Nora Ephron as well, where it is they have this sardonic wit to them where they're not only willing to go to dark places, but almost seek them out very specifically while always maintaining a sense of humor to everything that they're um to all the stories that they're telling. And I think that's one of the strengths of the film as well.
Yeah, totally agree. Christina, you were going to say something.
I was just gonna say also the absence of father figures of men of they're all just sitting there reading the paper and are over it, and they also haven't had any influence over these women. These women are the power.
Yeah. And then I just think also too, then they, the way in which Jack and others in the film, the Dennis Quaid character, they're leeches. These men are leeches on them.
Yeah, all of
And,
them.
and how he's professing over a cliff, right? Or what it looks like to be like his love. But earlier that
His
night,
house is incredible.
his house is insane. But then, like, literally that night before, he was with Annette Bening. And,
Annette Bening, just let me just say this.
oh, here we go.
Looking great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jay,
Looking
didn't say
amazing.
Margaret.
Jay, would Annette Bening have been an important person in 1990?
You know what? I'm going to say it right now. Never viewed Annette Bening as an important person. She's on the list.
There you go. All right. Good for you.
She's also on the list in regarding Henry, the next
Yeah.
Nichols film as well.
Well, this year was a big year for her. She had this in The Grifters, and those
Yeah.
sort of her big breakouts. And then from that point on, she was a star. She should have an Oscar.
More importantly, everybody, great actress, okay? Great
actress. Come
performer,
on.
incredible.
Should have an Oscar by now.
Naiad.
You think she should have won for Naiad?
She
Come on.
probably did. She was going for it.
Yeah, I mean, she was one of the five, right?
She
Jay,
was.
She's been nominated 5 times and she's lost every time.
Yeah, I knew she didn't have any. I didn't realize she'd been nominated.
She got nominated for The Grifters
Mhm.
this year in supporting actress, and then there's American Beauty where she had the Oscar nom and Hilary Swank beat her.
Of course, of
And
course.
then 5 years later, she was nominated for Being Julia, which then Hilary Swank beat her again for Million Dollar Baby.
Hillary, come
And
on.
then The Kids Are All Right, where Natalie Portman beat her.
Nope.
And then last year she was Naya, Just Keep Swimming. And she lost to, of course, Emma Stone for Poor Things. But she was clearly the 5 in that category last year. Like
Yeah.
it was like Mulligan, Gladstone, Sandra Hüller, Emma Stone, and then, oh yeah, Annette Bening.
You know what she should have won for?
20th Century Women?
Of course.
Yeah. She didn't even get nominated for that.
Oh, that's
Think about that, buddy.
Yeah. That movie's great.
Yeah,
Capital G,
that movie-
great.
Fucking rules. You know who else should have been nominated for supporting actress?
Greta?
Greta Gerwig.
Right.
She's incredible in that movie.
She's a director.
Yeah, I know she's a director now. But
thank you.
She's also an incredible actress and very underrated actress, I think, because people.
Go check if she's worked with Dwayne.
Oh, that's a good one, buddy.
Oh,
You should see if she's
Here we
worked
go.
with Dwayne.
All right,
Oh,
y'all keep talking.
Greta's worked with Dwayne. But yeah, did you guys know that Shel Silverstein wrote a song for this thing?
I didn't before researching for this.
And I looked at that today, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Wow.
And was Oscar nominated for it.
Well, yeah, that's right. Well, Jay, you just got one. You got just one there. There you go for your game later.
All right.
Right?
Thank you.
But no, that you are right, Christina. I mean, that is Shel Silverstein, what a fascinating just person, an artist, cartoonist, songwriter, musician, writer. I mean,
Incredible look that guy had.
you think
We read The Giving Tree at my house.
I read The Giving Tree. Are we going to be able to read The Giving Tree anymore, Christina?
Maybe
After
not.
I don't know, is that going to
Maybe
be?
not.
What, did
Think,
the Giving Tree get canceled?
well, no, I'm just assuming that like anything sentimental or of note from the current administration is just going to get put on a banned book list, and we're going to
Mm.
go into like dark times around here.
Who do you
I,
think will be on the author
like,
Trump's book
oh,
crew?
well,
Call his
oh,
Mel
because he's got
Gibson
the
team.
because he's got like the well,
The
you are
Hollywood ambassadors.
yeah, the Hollywood ambassador. Wait a minute. So you still think that Quaid is the fourth horseman in that apocalypse,
I
correct?
think he's real pissed
Mhm.
off.
Yeah. Christina, do you think that Quaid is the fourth of the apocalypse there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. See,
I think
I've
I
made the
think
case for
Trump is
others.
jealous that he played Reagan.
Oh, yeah, probably
That's
Mm.
so.
the thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, the leader of the author apocalypse, which is what we'll call it, the author apocalypse, is JD Vance.
I was going to say Bill O'Reilly because he just prints out those damn books left and right.
He writes fiction stuff too, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he mostly writes all those like killing
Yeah.
books, like Kill Jesus and Lincoln and all these people
Oh.
left and right. You know?
I could have sworn I saw him doing something recently. I could have sworn that guy was dead.
What, Bill O'Reilly?
Yeah, I think
No,
I was
we just
thinking of Rush
canceled. No,
Limbaugh.
he just got canceled. Yeah, Rush Limbaugh is dead. Thank God.
Yeah.
But Bill
How hard
O'Reilly,
do you have to screw up to even be canceled by Fox News?
pretty
Yeah,
bad,
that's
pretty bad. But
Yeah.
he's like slowly integrating back into the world.
Society.
Yeah, because he's not as crazy as the people on like MAGA TV, but he's not any better.
Get him
You know
on
what I mean?
Rogan. Come on.
Right? It's like that's the thing with O'Reilly. It's like he's still a piece of
Is
shit
he
for
now
what he did.
the
But like,
reasonable right?
yeah, he's the
Oh my
reasonable
God.
right. That's the crazy thing. Like, I'm not saying anything wrong, right, Christina? Like, he's kind of considered that. Like, it's
What are we doing?
what are we doing anymore? Well, this is
What
about
are we
Postcards.
doing?
Anyway, Silverstein.
Shel Silverstein, I'm looking at his
it's
Wikipedia
not
page.
canceled.
I can't believe he wrote a boy named Sue. I didn't know
Frequent
that.
presence at Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion.
Oh boy.
Okay, he is canceled. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
Well, he also he wrote a lot of. It looks like he illustrations were published in various newspapers and magazines, including Playboy. So he did a lot of work. Yeah.
Everyone did Playboy in that era.
Well, okay, Christina, way to just excuse everything of that era now. It's oh my God, listeners. I'm so sorry for Christina here. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Boy named Sue. What a banger.
What a banger. Christina, have you heard that song, right? Boy Named Sue?
Hmm.
Oh, one of Johnny Cash's best. Love that song. Were you, Jay, did you almost consider your son Sue? Did you almost consider that name?
Just to harden him. Yeah.
Just hard. Jay, did your parents have alternative names for you?
No, because I'm a third.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They
Yeah.
went straight in for the third. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Christina, did your parents have alternative names they ever tell you about?
Not that they ever told me about. But on the other hand, they divorced when I was like 1, so I don't
Okay. See,
that information.
I was just trying to ask us.
It's like heartburn.
Yes.
Yeah. Mine had an alternative name for me. Taylor
Taylor.
was my
Sheridan.
Mhm.
McQuade.
then my dad, my dad,
Swift.
my dad. Oh no, no, no. Then my dad was able to get my mom around the idea of Ryan. So, and then that worked out. So, anywho, anything else you guys want to mention about Postcards from the Edge?
I love that the movie she's in is so junky. I think that's a really fun part of the movie. It is like such junk. And she knows it. It really does feel like I don't know. I feel like for some reason I just feel like that movie has a lot of nudity in it. You know, just like a classic late 80s TNA action movie or something. And I just love that that's her rebound back into the world. Also, Rob Reiner, very funny in this movie, in his limited screen time. I think Rob Reiner's a great actor. I think he's so funny. Hasn't made a good movie in 30 years as a director, but I think he's always good. Great in Wolf of Wall Street recently. I just think he's a great actor.
We should do Reiner one of these days.
Maybe like the first 10 years of Reiner.
Well, he
And
has
then-
like a streak in those 80s that were in
No,
early
he's
90s.
got a 4 or 5 film run that is.
I would say it's like 8 films, buddy. It's like 6 or
Yeah,
6
there's
or
a couple
8.
in there that are kind of anonymous, but if you look at the 8, there's probably 6 all-timers.
Yeah, he's got an incredible
Yeah.
run, and then it stops after The American President, and he's doing like The Bucket List. You know what I mean? And
It gets way worse than the bucket
yeah, I know.
list.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like that's like the notable one because the other ones are like, what are you doing? Becoming like.
At least people know that the bucket list exists. Like there's so many films that he has directed where you're just like, haven't heard of it.
He reminds me a lot of
real.
like Cameron Crowe. Like Crowe had Heaters for years and was of an era and then like just fell off so quickly. Same with Reiner. And now like at least
Well, the
Crowe's
thing
doing
about
back
the
now.
difference is Reiner decided that he needed to start making
Family films.
quote unquote important movies.
Yeah, and when you start trying to make important movies, they're not important. They become very on the nose. They become very they just become bad. They're just bad in general. And then he's doing like cameos and acting and yeah, he doesn't and honestly at that point, at a certain point he's like, I just don't need to make anything good anymore. I'm Rob Reiner. I can do whatever I want.
But I mean, the
He
bangers
can.
that he did make from
Man.
Spinal Tap to Stand By Me to
Princess Bride,
Few
Yeah.
good men.
Misery,
Few Good Men. I mean, there's enough there.
Yeah, that's a.
He's
that's
got
He
a-
could rest on his
legacy.
laurels.
when
his
Harry Met
legacy
Sally,
was, yeah.
talking about Nora,
I mean, yeah,
Nora
I mean-
Ephron. Yeah,
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's got 6 like canonical movies.
Yeah.
6 like movies defining of the era. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is weird. Like at one point, he was like the guy, right? He was like he couldn't miss, and then he's now all he can shoot is, bombs and blanks, left and right. Anyway,
He directed more good movies than his dad.
well, I mean, yeah, but his dad was more like an actor.
His dad's a legend.
Yeah. Oh, his dad is a
Legend.
legend. I'm not taking anything away from Carl Reiner. Are you kidding me? But
You know who was next door neighbors with the Reiners?
who?
Albert Einstein.
Really?
Oh, right. There was this. I saw that in the documentary they were talking about.
I didn't know.
AKA Albert Brooks.
Mhm.
Albert Brooks. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
That's his real name. is
That's
Albert
his name.
Einstein.
Yeah.
How stupid
Did
is
you
that?
see that about that documentary? That was really good.
No, I didn't get to
When
ever catch around.
They're just
on it.
talking. Yeah.
Or is it just?
And that
Oh, is it
comes
just like?
up.
Is it just them like having dinner?
They have this whole conversation. That's where the Albert Einstein, the real name, comes up.
I gotta catch it.
Well,
Is
that's
it
where
on,
I
like-
saw it.
Is it on like HBO Max?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. Okay.
There's an old clip on a late night show where I got Johnny Carson or whoever it was asked Carl Reiner, you're a funny guy. Who's the funniest person you know? And he's like, my next door neighbor's kid, Albert Einstein, is the funniest person I know. And that was the day that the legend of Albert Brooks was born.
It's called Albert Brooks Defending My Life. I think it's on Apple.
Okay. Well then. It's on Apple.
hmm
Okay. Well then I'll give it a shot.
They're doing all sort of comedian retrospectives. Steve Martin.
No, you're right. HBO directed by his longtime friend Rob Reiner.
Oh, that
yeah.
one was
Oh,
HBO.
yeah.
Mhm.
Steve Martin
Mhm.
one's Apple.
Yeah, that one's Apple.
That's it, right.
Carrie Fisher also later after this becomes essentially a screenwriter for hire or like punch up artist.
Script doctor.
Punching
yeah.
up all the scripts. Yeah. This was her first actual screenplay credit. I think she had one more that
These old boards.
nobody
of
remembers. Yeah.
2001, yeah. But
Another Shirley MacLaine movie, I
But
believe.
these notable ones included she did script work on Sister Act, Last Action Hero, the animated Anastasia film, and The Wedding Singer.
I think there's a lot more than that too. I think it really was like
Yeah.
run this by Carrie before
It
we
was like, no,
get it.
probably for the entire 90s and a little bit, and a little bit in the early 2000s. It was let her punch up whatever you have for her.
Yeah,
And she was she was incredible.
she's very talented. She wanted this to be. She approached Nichols to make this a one-woman Broadway show,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Movie."
Oh, movie. Oh, he was like, nope, movie.
He just very immediately was like, "I think this is a movie."
And
Okay.
he could have done a fabulous one-woman Broadway show.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone could have done it, it would have been Nichols.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
It is the guy. The guy couldn't stop working,
Yeah.
and during this era, he was doing. He did. How about this for a play? Right before he started making this, Steve Martin, Robin Williams, Bill Irwin, and F. Murray Abraham in an off-Broadway, like really small venue, 8-week run. How'd you like to see that? That'd be crazy.
I would pay money to see that. It's incredible. Yeah. I mean, but also, as we known, and it's stated in the Mark Harris book that you're reading, Jay, he always worked because he liked.
He liked money, and he was also always very paranoid about money.
Yeah.
Horses, cocaine.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think also Nichols was just one of those people that always, yeah, you could use the money and everything, but I also just think he always wanted to be working.
He liked the
always wanted to be working.
status.
Yeah.
After a certain point, yes, he always wanted to be working.
Yeah. Which, it feels like he's always.
And then he would start working and he'd be like, oh my God, why did I do this?
Yeah.
But isn't that like every artist? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why did I sign up for this? And then it's like, oh, okay, it didn't turn out to be that bad. But anything else you guys want to mention real quick? Carly Simon doing the music in this film, by the way.
Yeah. Carly
yeah,
Simon, Nichols,
Staple
multi-time
of the
collaborator.
time.
Yeah.
It did pretty well.
It did pretty well. It was like almost a 3-time multiplier. That was really
Yeah.
good
And it
for
was when in post-production, actually, the head of Columbia Pictures was, I think she left. And the new people were famous Hollywood scumbags. Peter Guber and John Peters came in and took over Columbia, and Mike Nichols was like, "Oh my God, they're gonna ruin this like female first movie. They're not gonna market it. It's gonna be an absolute disaster." And so he's like, "I gotta pick my next project like right now," and he picks Regarding Henry. So we can talk about that a little bit next week. But
We'll talk about that.
he was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
who's this J.J. Abrams fellow? And what is this screenplay that he wrote?"
Well, we all know he just knew that Gracie Abrams is
Carrie Fisher. He said, "I think you and Carrie should work together sometime in the future."
Yeah, and he was just like, "You mean like on like a script there?" And he goes, "No, I think you should ruin the greatest franchise of all time. Like just go ahead and destroy it, and then
Interesting.
after you destroy it, give your daughter the opportunity to make really sleepy bad music."
Oh, what's that I smell? A 45-minute Star Wars tangent?
Well, I do want to say that I always okay. This is the truth. So when Carrie Fisher did pass, there was a lot of people that were in the midst of the new Star Wars trilogy. And I'm always the person that believes that the character is bigger than the person that played him. It goes beyond just that person. That character becomes literally the embodiment of kids and generations, and I thought that in order to save that film from what they did to Carrie Fisher, which is that mangled up CGI, old footage, weird janky dialogue that he did in the Rise of Skywalker, the perfect choice to replace her for that last Star Wars movie and keep the script, halfway decent, and give it a hope would have been cast Meryl Streep, because they've done it before. And
That is, Ryan, that is ludicrous.
it's not ludicrous. It also,
That is
when Meryl got
absurd.
when Meryl got the Cecil B. DeMille Award and she went up there and her last thing that she said was a quote from Carrie Fisher, and they were very close, even beyond this film. And I always thought that a tribute to her would have been for if anybody could have done it, rather than what they did, which I think is actually a disrespect, is to have somebody near and dear to Carrie's life play and carry out her character that could carry it all the way out. Instead, what we got is what we got. And I think
I don't
my
think it
idea
would have
would have
saved
been,
the movie. I think that is a terrible idea.
you think what they did was better?
I don't think it would have been successful either way, but
I think you would have at least been able to write a character as opposed to be able to do what they did, which is essentially use stock
work
footage.
around. Like they had her like behind the scenes footage of her saying, "I would like a hot dog, please." And they're like,
Exactly.
"All right, we can cut around that." She's gonna say,
I would like
gonna
the
say,
force,
please.
Yeah.
Please, dog.
Please, Ray.
It is hot.
Ray. I like hot dog. You know what I mean? So
Write a scene about hot dogs. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, put it in there. BB-8 and a hot dog. We can market that. Really well. No, that was just my only solution to have saved it at the time. But then obviously
That movie was going nowhere, no
Algo,
matter
yeah,
who was in
gonna
it.
go
But
nowhere regardless. But I think definitely her passing really
that hurt.
because when I watch The Last Jedi, her work in that is phenomenal, and I think truly just brings me to tears. The stuff that she does, that scene with her and Mark Hamill towards the end of that film, where they're talking about Han and what that all means and everything. Not one, that's just the power of Rian Johnson screenwriting, but then it's also this lived in relationship that we've known for forever. And weirdly, that is a beautiful send off. Sadly, that we didn't know that would be her last role, because of the idea of Luke saying no one's ever really gone, right? And it's just such a beautiful send off to then that character in that film, but then also to Carrie. And then that movie ends with we have all we need right here, which is this family, which is this group to build a resistance. And yeah, it was just she was so important to so many people, but then you just hear about and read about her. She was one of the most fascinating. She was more than just Leia. She was a fascinating individual in Hollywood, and she was a vital part to so many films, being as successful as they were. She was a great actress beyond this. I think we talk about Rob Reiner. She has a really great supporting turn in When Harry Met Sally.
Harry Met Sally, yeah, it's
and
so good.
And I love that performance. And
he's never gonna leave her.
He's never gonna leave her. And when her and Billy Crystal's friend, they jump in that taxi, and
Yeah.
they're fighting over the.
Are you going this way?
Yeah, or they're fighting over the coffee table.
Those quiche of the 80s.
Yeah, the coffee
90s.
table with the wheel, and no, I love you, but I will never take that coffee table from you. And she's incredible, and I think in this film Meryl does her complete justice, and I think Shirley MacLaine, who also MacLaine and Streep, MacLaine got the AFI tribute a couple years ago, and Meryl went and spoke about this film and being absolutely Jay. It is funny that you mentioned that they were sort of there was a little bit of of a competitiveness between the two, but because afterwards they just became very close friends and bonded for many years. And I think Meryl knowing then Annette and knowing Warren Beatty and this whole generation of actors really knew each other very well, because she worked obviously with Jack, who was like best friends with Warren Beatty, and Annette, and all these people, they knew each other. And that's the thing that also separates, I think, a lot of then in the kind of movies that this is, as opposed to movies we get now, is that these movie stars, they were all connected. And it really did weirdly feel like a community where these people could understand each other and understand when somebody was in pain, how to be able to work through that and then be able to convey that down the road. And I think that that's what makes, what you said earlier, Christina, where like this movie maybe isn't as hard as it could be on on Hollywood, or like, somebody who's addicted, or alcoholism, or all the things that are sort of in this film, but it's done to the point where you fully can understand that, but then also not a schmaltzy way of doing it, but you can sympathize with these characters, and then it just ends on a great kind of Mamma Mia-esque rock song at the end, and you're just like, okay,
Shell.
I'm gonna
We need to talk
bebop
about
out
how
of
good
this.
of a singer is Meryl.
Oh, she's so
Oh,
good.
I think she's pretty good.
you think she's good just like in this, or like are you talking about in later movies as well?
No, I don't
She's
think
done lots of good singing.
she's a pretty good singer. She's not exactly
Well, you're also a big Ricky
knocking
in the
my socks
Flash.
off.
You're also
Oh,
a big,
I'm a proud member of the Ricky and the Flash Hive. Yes,
yeah, that's you. Mamma Mia Hive.
I've made it through about 10 minutes of Mamma Mia, and
Christina,
then
Mamma
decided
Mia.
not for me.
No.
Yeah, okay. Into the Woods.
Have not seen.
She has some good things in what's it called Murders in the Building.
Yeah.
She has
She's
a really good
also
number in that.
she also has a good number or two in a film, Jay, you and I have seen before, Robert Altman's A Prairie Home Companion.
True.
Yeah, she's very good in that film as well. Her and what is it, Lily Tomlin together, which was who was the like the second director they had to hire? Wasn't that PTA? Didn't he have
PTA
the
was the insurance.
insurance
Yeah.
director on that one? Yeah,
hmm
which isn't that great? Sorry, just thinking about PTA there with Altman, that would have made me cry. If I was an actor, just being like, oh my god. But
Shirley
she's
MacLaine still kicking.
well,
Yep.
okay.
Which is like
Don't say it like that.
She's old.
Yeah, she is old. Most of these actors are old.
If she was just born just a few years later, she would have been great in the book club. She would have been such a good member of the book club.
You think Shirley MacLaine would? Do you think Meryl will ever do a book club? Too big.
Oh, here's a book club and this movie parallel.
Okay.
This is something I talked about with my wife after
Oh boy.
this movie was over. Because she was like, who is that old doctor guy? And I was like, that is Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh God. Well, Richard Dreyfuss. That was the other
and
thing.
she said, how do I know Richard Dreyfuss? And I said, he is the guy who Candice Bergen has sex with in the car in book club.
There you go. Not Jaws.
Candice Bergen,
yeah, I was
another
gonna
Mike
say
Nichols
not Jaws.
collaborator.
This is the first go-to.
Not Close Encounters.
For my
That
wife,
was-
it starts with Devil Wears
starts
Prada.
and ends
Next
with
is
the-
book club,
Okay.
and then everything else.
Well, is Ryan,
Those are kind of the two.
was Richard Dreyfuss? He's kind of gone off the deep end, right?
Oh yeah, he's a
done
lunatic. He's
some-
always been a jerk.
So, like, wouldn't he maybe be like a dark horse candidate for Trump's?
Yes,
Like,
yeah,
sort of
very
thing,
much so.
right?
It's possible.
Right? Because he's like full on. I'll go on a podcast and say some really racist things.
Did you see Mel Gibson when they asked him about it? He was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Are you?
His answer was because his house had just burned down when he found out about it in the wildfires of LA. And his answer was, is there a residence included?
You know what?
Fair,
Pretty good.
fair,
Mhm.
pretty
I'm
good.
just saying,
Pretty
he
good,
does
Mel.
have a sense of humor.
What we're
Yep.
saying is we're going to give Mel Gibson Camp David. Is what we're saying here.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there another mother-daughter celebrity duo that you would like to see a sort of fictionalized version of?
Oh man,
Kind of like a powerful meta mother-daughter
Mhm.
narrative.
Like a Carrie, Debbie,
Oh man. Yeah.
Liza Judy. I mean,
Blythe Danner and Gwyneth Paltrow. Would love to see that.
ooh, that's a
dynamic
good one
there.
too.
Yeah. I would like to see Lisa Bonet and Zoe Kravitz. I think that would be a fascinating film to discuss. And then I think
Margaret Qualley and Andy McDowell.
Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson. Let's go. Yeah, I think that there's a ton. I mean, Jay would like to see Jada and Willow Smith.
There were a couple
That would
shots
be
in
fascinating. I
There
have to
were-
say.
there were a couple shots in this where I was like, oh my God, Meryl looks exactly like Mamie Gummer in this particular.
Mhm.
What about if we went kind of to this era, but we went back a little bit and we saw Jamie Lee Curtis and Janet Leigh.
All right, you know it would be a little,
Fascinating.
you know it would be a good one? Mike
buddy.
Nichols connection,
There we go.
Dakota Melanie.
Dakota
Yes,
Melton.
That's a good one.
that's a good one.
That is a good one. I mean,
Because there you get a whole another layer too of a bunch of other famous people around there. You get Antonio Banderas,
Don Johnson.
what
Don
about
Johnson.
what about like international? Let's go Ingrid Bergman and Isabella Rossellini.
Yeah, that one we're waiting
Oh
for.
yeah,
That's gotta happen.
that's a
right?
layup.
That's a yeah. Oh man, I would love to see that. That would be great. Anybody else? No? Judges?
I don't know. I'm looking at Nepo babies now.
I know. I'm like stuck on it. I think I said it. I think
J.J. Abrams and his daughter.
Oh, I've
That's
gone in
right,
on
but-
I've gone in on Gracie Abrams too many times on this podcast.
I think
But
Diana
my-
Ross and Tracy Ellis Ross would be fascinating.
hmm
That would be fascinating.
That feels like it would be a fun romp.
I feel like that's a good musical waiting to happen. You know what I mean? What were you gonna say, Jay?
I was just gonna
Not Gracie.
speak ill
Ellis?
of Gracie Abrams again, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna be the bigger man today.
You're gonna be the bigger man today. Good for you, buddy. You know what? I've always been saying
It's all about growth.
it's Jay's been growing a lot on these series, and
Glad to hear.
I'm just so proud of you, buddy. All right. Well,
I
Jay,
forget. I always forget that Zoe Deutsch is Leah Thompson's daughter.
Oh yeah. Zoe Deutsch.
Yeah.
Does she have like a new? Yeah, Zoe Deutsch has got a new movie coming out later this year. She's in a new Linklater.
Big fan of Zoe Deutsch.
Yeah, me too. I think she's good. I think she's got the goods, given the right
Mhm.
stuff. Jay,
hmm
before we get out of here, we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed. Postcards from the Edge.
I think one of the
Uh,
great battles of our time is Zoe Deutsch versus Haley Lou Richardson.
Who's winning it?
I think only one of them can win. Probably Haley Lou Richardson.
Yeah, she seems like she's got the.
She was on
range.
White
She was in-
Lotus.
She was in After Yang.
Yeah. Well, she's got, she's
think
all
she's in
in
the
with
new
Kogonada.
Where
Yeah.
are you at with Kogonada? You like him?
Yeah, I like Kogonada. I didn't love After Yang.
You like
Columbus,
Columbus?
I like a lot.
Yeah. Christina, you like Kogonada, right?
Oh, I love Coconut, and I love After Yang.
It's got that new movie coming out.
So
this year.
there.
With Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie.
Haley Lou Richardson, unbelievable in Support the Girls.
Yes. Oh,
A great film.
That's a very good film. With Regina Hall. right?
Regina Hall, unbelievable in that movie.
Postcards from the Edge. From a segment we like to call Jay, it's an honor to get nominated.
Okay.
Now, Jay, you were given a hint earlier
Sorry.
by Christina. It's okay,
Best
Christina.
song.
That is correct.
Okay.
But was it nominated for any other Academy Awards postcards from the Edge?
I'm thinking it was. It feels like a movie that
From the Edge.
the Academy would really latch onto. I'm going to say both actresses got nominated.
of glory. That's who it would be about. It would be a Lady Gaga movie, is what it would be. You're saying both actresses would get nominated.
Yes.
Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer.
Sadly, sir, only one got nominated.
Oh, Meryl?
And that was Meryl Streep.
Meryl.
Anything else?
Adapted screenplay?
Incorrect.
Man,
I wish. That's-
harsh.
Yeah, very harsh. You want to know why, Jay?
Why?
That was it.
Oh,
Just
okay.
sad, right? You
Song
think it'd be a little bit
and
more?
actress.
Yeah.
Can I just say this is the year that Marty got so robbed that it just
Yeah. Jay, this is the year of Dances with Wolves.
Of
and
course.
Goodfellas was
This
just
is the year of Awakenings, Dances with Wolves, Ghost, Godfather Part 3, and this is the year of Goodfellas.
Heard of it.
Heard of it? And Dances with Wolves obviously beat Goodfellas. Dances with Wolves, not a bad movie. Not a bad movie.
not a
But-
bad movie, but not
but not
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. Not Goodfellas. Yeah.
Not Horizon.
We got Horizon, Part 1. Jay, did you like Horizon? Did you ever
Haven't
watch
seen
it?
it. Still haven't seen it. Got to carve out the 3 hours.
Yeah, but you got to finish Brutalist first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Original adapted screenplay, because this wouldn't be original. This would be adapted screenplay. Adapted screenplay. The winner was Dances with Wolves. The other nominees were Awakenings, Goodfellas, The Grifters, and Reversal of Fortune. I think we could throw Postcards at the Edge somewhere in there.
Let's see. This
Absolutely.
screenplay is better than Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
And then Awakenings.
And Awakenings. And Reversal of Fortune. Probably better than The Grifters. Haven't seen The Grifters in a while. I wouldn't say it's better than Goodfellas.
Not better than Goodfellas, but it should have been in here.
Many films are.
Nope, that's...
You know who's great in Goodfellas?
Joe Pesci.
Everyone.
Scorsese's mom.
Scorsese's. Oh, yeah.
She's always great. That's what we want to see, Scorsese and his mom movie.
Oh, man, I would love to see that movie. Are you kidding me? Like Marty's Fablemans?
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
How she'd make dinner for him and De Niro and...
Oh my God! One dog looks one way, one dog looks the other way.
That is my favorite part of that whole movie. One dog goes this way, the other dog goes the other way.
Why aren't you talking? Why are you never talk? I'm just listening.
Oh, I love that so much.
I think Ray Liotta is incredible in that movie and doesn't get enough credit.
Oh yeah.
And it's crazy that De Niro didn't get anything either. Like only Pesci and Lorraine Bracco got nominations, and I'm like, Liotta's killing it in that movie, and so is De Niro. Like
that movie should have gotten everything. I mean, I can't believe it.
How did Thumb's editing not win? Like, what are we talking about there? That's like an insanely wonderfully edited movie. It didn't even get nominated for cinematography.
By the way, it's the same cinematographer. It's Michael Ballhaus on both of these.
Yeah. And he didn't get nominated in either spot. And cinematography went to... They really just were in love.
Yeah, just insane.
With Dances with Wolves. Like, they were just very in love with it. Now, Shirley, she was pushed in supporting actress. So that's where...
I can buy that.
At the Globes. But at the BAFTAs, she was put in leading actress. So I think...
Interesting.
I think she probably would have gone supporting. Would you guys have nominated Shirley for supporting?
Yeah, she's great. Put her in.
Absolutely.
Come on, put her in.
So Whoopi
Put
Goldberg.
Quaid in there.
Put Quaid in there. Whoopi Goldberg was won for Ghost. And then Annette Bening got nominated for The Grifters. Lorraine Bracco for Goodfellas. Diane Ladd for Wild at Heart. And Mary McDonald for Dances with Wolves. Sorry, Mary, I would take you out and put Shirley in. Yeah,
I am good with that.
But Diane Ladd, man, for Wild at Heart. What an inspired nomination, right, Jay?
Yeah, amazing.
That's a good one.
That's an incredible.
That'd be a good mother-daughter movie.
What you think? What do you mean?
Diane Ladd.
Diane Ladd.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Do you notice that Dwayne is not nominated for Wild at Heart? Did you say that he edited Wild at Heart?
Yeah, he wasn't nominated.
He did edit Wild at Heart.
Not edited here. I can see.
Not
he
nominated.
Was nominated. Yeah.
Let me see. What kind of awards?
I love Wild at Heart. That's one of my favorite David Lynch movies.
So he was nominated for Emmys for editing Twin Peaks: The Return.
Yeah.
He was nominated for editing for the original Twin Peaks.
Yep.
He was nominated at the DGA for outstanding directing children's programs for the 2004 Disney Channel original film Tiger Cruise.
Hell yeah.
Once again starring Bill Pullman and Hayden Panettiere.
Okay.
And
Back cast.
Can you give me the plot
synopsis
for Tiger Cruise, Jay, since you brought it up?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get it for you.
I'm just trying to make sure that
the film's fictional events are intertwined with the real life events of the September 11th attacks.
What?
Wait.
No. Please tell me that's not true.
I am reading it off the page, my man. The real life events of the September 11th attacks, in which USS Constellation was, as depicted, actually returning from her 2001 Western Pacific deployment with Tigers, which are like civilian people on board when the September 11th attacks occurred.
Can I watch this on Disney Plus?
Oh, that's
A little
Is this-
heavier than I was expecting.
Jay, is this on
the
Disney
Tiger
Plus?
Cruise.
Tiger Cruise.
Were you seeing like animated tigers on a boat and like?
Well, I knew it was some sort of military movie. I did not know that it was directly connected with September 11th.
September 11th. Mm.
It is on Disney Plus.
You know,
All right.
Bill Pullman.
It
We're
is
watching
an
it.
hour and 28 minutes.
I want to
Yeah.
see how Lynchian it is.
This is insane. They did this 3 years after the attacks, like almost on the anniversary of it. It came out.
When did
August
World
6th.
Trade Center come out?
The Nicolas Cage.
The
movie?
Nicolas Cage movie.
Trade Center. Hang on. 2006.
Mm.
When did United 93 come out? That came out 2006. So those both. So what we're saying is,
They gave it a nice 5 years.
They
Tiger Cruise was like, let's get in on this early.
Way too soon. Also, what is this?
It's based
doing?
on a true story.
What the hell is this doing on the Disney Channel? What is going on? Who approved this? A madman?
Bob Iger. Well, I guess at this point it would have been, what's his name?
Who would have?
The old guy.
That helps.
The old Disney CEO. I can't remember his name.
Michael Eisner.
Yes, Eisner.
Thank you. Can't believe I pulled that one out. Oh wow. Anyway, would you guys nominate Postcards from the Edge anywhere else outside of maybe screenplay and supporting actress?
Screenplay and Shirley.
Nah, probably not.
Probably not. No. Okay. Not putting it in picture, buddy.
Nah.
Nah. Got other movies that you would rather put in there, huh?
Let me look at this year. This is 90.
90.
I'd switch out Awakenings for it.
Oh, not a fan of Awakenings.
Mm,
That's the one you'd take out, Christina?
mm.
You'd take
Ghost.
out-
I'm fine.
I wouldn't keep Godfather 3 in there. Godfather 3 shouldn't exist.
This is a fun year with a bunch of movies I really like that never would have been nominated for Best Picture.
Well, that's okay, buddy.
Wild at Heart, Total Recall, Gremlins 2.
Oh.
Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2 rocks. Hunt for Red October,
Oh, I love Hunt for Red
Miller's
October.
Crossing, Joe versus the Volcano,
Oh, Miller's Crossing.
Oh, Miller's Crossing's a good one.
Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman is good. I like Mr. and Mrs. Bridges or Mr. and Mrs. Bridge. That's Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman, one of the last on-screen collaborations.
Fun year, interesting stuff. Revenge, the Tony Scott movie, came out this year.
Did you ever see the Peter Weir movie Green Card?
Have not seen.
I want to go down a Peter Weir rabbit hole. I think he would be a great director.
It would be a good series.
That'd be a
Weird.
Andy McDowell.
That'd
right?
be a good one.
Yeah. That would be one we got to do down the road, Jay.
Be good.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Anyway, Christina,
Mhm.
thank you so much for coming on,
Thank you
doing-
for having me.
doing this silly show with us, and going on those silly tangents that we go and finding out about Tiger Cruise, which is a movie I guess you're going to be covering on your show down the road soon.
We have to continue talking about Tiger Cruise.
This is honestly the most fucking insane thing I've ever seen in my life. And
I mean, how hard did the Dwayne Dunham rabbit hole pay off? That was like a slot
It's
machine.
so paid off. Jay, this one's all you, and thank you
buddy.
so much.
Good job, buddy. Christina, can you
Thanks, y'all.
tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet, and also give us a movie or TV show recommendation?
Your
of the
favorite
week?
Dwayne Dunham
Maybe your favorite.
work.
Well, I don't think I can give anything better than Tiger Cruise because that's all I want to see now.
Yeah, but you still want to give our listeners something else that maybe
Well,
that you've seen that recently that's important to you that you'd like to share.
Has Jay still not seen The Brutalist, is what we're saying here,
He's
and
seen
you're
it
not
only-
planning to?
I've seen half of it, and I need to go out and see the
You
second
walked
half.
out at the intermission, or
I had to. It was a pet emergency. I got a text
oh,
from my wife that I had to go
well, that's okay. Then
tend
you're
to my
excused.
dog.
You're
Yes.
excused, buddy. But
I
You're
liked the first
excused.
half a lot.
yeah,
Good. Because that's definitely the movie to see if you haven't caught up yet
Yes.
after the Oscar nominations. That's
Yes.
one of my biggest cinematic experiences of this season. So
Yes.
go do that.
I need to.
And you can listen to a couple of my interviews around that movie with Alessandro Nivola and co-screenwriter Mona Fastwall. They're both up on popcultureconfidential.com, which you
That's
can
awesome.
listen to through Apple or Spotify. And you can follow me on Instagram at Christina Birro, the same at Twitter and Blue Sky. And yeah, follow. Talk about Tiger Cruise whenever you want.
2.2 average on Letterboxd.
yeah.
Planning on bumping that up.
We have to bump that up.
67% on Rotten Tomatoes.
67, not bad.
Not bad.
I wonder
I
what
will-
Lights Camera Jackson thought of it.
God, don't start.
Doesn't
No,
it seem like a perfect
you know
role
we
for Bill
don't-
Pullman?
God, we cannot name other critics like that. You know better than that on this show. We're getting in trouble. It's bad enough people already think that I'm a jerk online sometimes.
He's coming on the pod.
No, he's not. Well, I doubt it. I doubt he'll ever come on this show. Jay would have to book that one. Don't give the listeners hope and a guest that we're not going to have on. Come on now, you know better than this.
I don't think he reviewed Tiger Cruise.
Well, maybe
You
we'll
don't
just have
think
to.
so?
Maybe we'll just have to do a one-off episode with him down the road. See, now I'm even helping you out.
I think he would have been really young.
Jay. Where can we find you and all your work on the internet as well as a recommendation of the week, buddy?
Yeah, Letterboxd, J Ledbetter, Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter, any writing I'm doing over at awardswatch.com. This podcast again next week if you're listening. And movie recommendation, it was actually brought up earlier when we were talking about Mr. Tom Holland. I watched Billy Elliot for the first time.
That's why you brought up Billy Elliot.
And I quite enjoyed it. My wife claims that the dancing in it is bad, which I'd like a second opinion on, but that is not my expertise. I was like, oh, look at this kid. He's dancing. Let him dance. Come on. Let the kid dance. I will tell you the one thing I was surprised by is I was like, this is like a really directed movie. Like,
Yeah.
this has vision, which I quite liked. And Jamie Bell's is a really great child performance. Who plays the dad? Gary Lewis.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah, he's amazing in it. And Stephen Daldry, he made other stuff.
Well, it has everything. It has politics and Tiger Cruise too.
Oh my God. Stephen Daldry. He made other things.
He did. I mean, it's a fact.
I mean, yeah. What are the other things that he did?
No, he did The Reader,
The Hours.
Hours.
Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close.
Yeah.
He did a movie called Trash.
So he made other stuff.
He did a movie called Together a couple of years ago. Yeah, he's done a bunch. He's like a consulting producer on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. He's doing the Stranger Things Broadway. I guess it's not Broadway. I guess it's in like the West End. Yeah, it's in the West End. He's doing the Stranger Things, The First Shadow.
And there you go.
From the Duffer Brothers. It's like a prequel to the events of Stranger Things.
Oh, that's kind of fun. He did Billy Elliot the musical about a decade after the movie.
You know who did all the music for that, right?
Billy Joel.
Oh, close. Elton John.
I was actually going to say Elton John, and then I was like, that's not a funny enough joke if it isn't right, and also it might be right.
It was right.
So I'm going to say Billy Joel.
Okay. And you would be
inside the mind of a comedic genius.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade77, as well as Blue Sky as well too. You can find out my work at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, we have the Awards Watch podcast that's up every Monday. iTunes and Spotify 5-star reviews, we greatly appreciate it. We did see that we got a 5-star review up on iTunes, and it was from a fan of this show. And to that fan out there, yes, we are going to do a bonus episode about Angels in America. Jay and I are going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we only give our fans what they want. They ask for more of this, we will obviously do it. So everything for our fans.
We're men of the
okay?
So
people.
you're prepared for Tiger Cruise
Yeah,
request.
I mean, if you guys out there want to hear us talk about Tiger Cruise, we will do it, but it might also be the most insensitive show probably ever because it was insensitive
I would do a
for
Disney Channel original movie series.
You think so? You think people want to listen
That'd
to
be
that?
fun. I would.
Oh, okay.
We got one.
Well, then Christina's going to come on for the Tiger Cruise episode, and we're screwed. And go over to the website, sign up for the newsletter. It's the best place to get all of our news, reviews, interviews, and podcasts all sent to you in one place. Recommendation for the week for me went back into the old vaults. It's a 20-year-old movie now at this point, and put this bad boy on the other night. Kill Bill from Quentin Tarantino. And gotta tell you, still rules.
You watched both?
I watch both. Even though it really should just be one.
What are you, part one or part two? They're two different movies. Like, it is what it is.
No, I mean, it really is one, but he made it as one, intended it to be one, but yes, they split it into two. I'm a part two guy. Always have been. But I love part one.
I'm a part oneer, although I think the best scene in either movie is the Superman.
Superman scene. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
good. It's pretty good. Tarantino's best film for me is the Kill Bill saga.
That's your favorite Tarantino movie?
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
How did you not know that? I've told you that for years.
I don't know. I need to start listening to you.
I think you don't do it week after week, and then now I tell you something that you should know, and you're kind of blown away by it. Anyway, yeah, I had got the 4Ks and I watched them.
Oh yeah, those did come out.
Yeah,
that's right.
Get
us the whole bloody affair. What are we doing?
Yeah, just get us that because it's awesome. Saw it like years ago, and now I don't even remember it anymore. Not many people do. You want to take a bunch of people's money, sell that on physical media. People would kill for it.
That's true.
Next week, we will be back with an all-new episode of this silly little podcast. We will be talking about The Birdcage.
Pretty big one.
Pretty big one. Very excited to talk about that one next week. Thank you, Christina, for coming on, and we will see you all.
And once again, shout out Dwayne Dunham. I mean, just
you know what, we really
legend.
Should. Yeah, you know that's fair.
Shout out Dwayne Dunham.
He's probably going to get like a more credit for this episode in the the SEO than anything. His IMDb page is about to jump up after this.
Cool looking guy. He's got a nice head,
and he's worth it.
He's very worth it. He directed Tiger Cruise, and that's really all what we need to know. So everybody, watch The Birdcage in preparation for next week's episode, and we want to see all those letterbox reviews also for Tiger Cruise.
And watch Tiger Cruise just for a little historical perspective and reflection.
And then bump up those rookie numbers on Letterboxd, guys. Like, our guy deserves it. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.